For the folks that were producing and distributing alcohol during Prohibition, it was a wildly profitable time.
Vast supply and this huge multi-million dollar industry that suddenly vanished overnight.
When was the last time you drank a bottle of alcohol? Yesterday? Today? Well, back in the 1920s, the US tried to boost the nation's morals by banning it. Instead, the business went underground and gangs took over, making millions and causing thousands of deaths and gang wars like the shocking St. Valentine's Day massacre. Why did America think banning alcohol was a good idea? Why did it turn out so badly? And what the heck does Al Capone have to do with all of it? We're here to find out. And we're not just giving you the basics. Our team spent over 100 hours pulling together details and stories you haven't heard to really show you what happened during what was known as the bloodiest years in Chicago's history. Chapter 1: The Alcohol Ban. In the early 1800s, America saw the start of a social movement aimed at stopping people from drinking alcohol, known as the temperance movement. This movement really picked up speed in the Progressive era when reformers tried hard to fix what they saw as big problems in American society. They believed that alcohol was behind many other issues and pushed to get rid of it completely. But if they knew what terrors were to come, they would have decided otherwise. Mostly it was women leading this movement. Back then, drinking was something mainly men did, so women were very active in fighting against it. They formed groups like the Women's Christian Temperance Union, WCTU, which became very famous and active. These women worked tirelessly, encouraging men to stop drinking and urging politicians to ban alcohol sales, first in local areas and then across the whole nation. And guess what? Their efforts paid off in 1919 when the 18th Amendment to the Constitution was passed. This law made it illegal to make, sell, or transport alcohol anywhere in the United States. People who wanted to reform society were thrilled, thinking this was the beginning of a better America. However, they didn't see the problems that were quietly unfolding behind the scenes. To enforce the 18th Amendment, the government passed the Volstead Act, which created jobs for thousands of federal officers to enforce the new law. But with legal ways to drink shut down, the alcohol ban opened up huge opportunities for crime and violence. Things were about to get wild, which leads us to one infamous figure, Al Capone. Chapter 2: Al Capone's Big Break. During the 1920s, criminals like Al Capone found their moment. Capone was born in 1899 in Brooklyn, New York, to an Italian immigrant family. He left school at age 14 after a fight with a teacher and soon became involved in the gang world. He joined several gangs and then became part of the St. James Boys under Johnny Torrio, who became his mentor in the world of organized crime. Capone got his famous nickname, Scarface, after being slashed across the face during a confrontation. Must have hurt, but I'm sure it made for a good story, wouldn't you agree? In 1919, Torrio invited Capone to join him in Chicago. There, Capone quickly moved up the ranks in the South Side Italian mob. He was Torrio's bodyguard, enforcer, and a key player in expanding their criminal activities. They often clashed with other gangs like the North Side Gang led by Dean O'Banion. After Torrio was attacked and nearly killed by rivals, he decided to retire, leaving Capone in charge. And so the game had begun. Capone proved to be a very effective leader, quickly taking control of the city's illegal booze trade. If you ever had a glass of alcohol during that time, chances are Al Capone was to thank. The American public during the Jazz Age was absolutely ravenous for alcohol, and they didn't care about the laws against it. Prohibition, which was supposed to signal a new beginning, had ironically increased the nation's thirst for alcohol. Alcohol was as American as apple pie. Even the founding fathers had been distillers and drinkers themselves after writing the Constitution. George Washington famously celebrated with a significant amount of alcohol, enough to knock out 3 adult gorillas. Despite the hopes of reformers, banning alcohol didn't eliminate drinking, but transformed it. It ended the saloon, but gave birth to something called the speakeasy, which were secret bars hidden behind ordinary fronts like flower shops. These places were for everyone, man or woman, it didn't matter. Police turned a blind eye to these bars, and some even warned them about upcoming raids. Even doctors began prescribing alcohol as a medicine for a large number of health issues. It reminds me of something Mark Twain said: "The more things are forbidden, the more popular they become." Anyway, I think it's pretty safe to say that the 1920s were wild. Which brings us to our next point: Winston Churchill. Chapter 3: Chicago Amnesia. But first, a quick recap. In the early 1900s, the U.S. saw a strong push against alcohol with the temperance movement, leading to the introduction of the 18th Amendment in 1919. This law banned the making and selling of alcohol across the country. Despite the law, people found creative ways to keep drinking. For example, Winston Churchill, during a lecture tour in America, managed to get a doctor's note allowing him to have alcohol, stating he needed it for his meals. At the same time, many Americans turned their homes into mini distilleries, making what was known as bathtub gin. Yum! People experimented with hops and grains to create their own homemade brews. The Prohibition period sparked a wave of humor and irony as well, with jokes making light of the situation. One popular joke asked why a chemist decided to make bathtub gin. The punchline was that he thought it would be a great solution, a play on words referring to both a mixture and a fix to a problem. But if you think this era was all sunshine and rainbows, then you're in for a rude awakening. It also saw a sharp rise in organized crime. Bootleggers started smuggling alcohol from places like the Caribbean and Canada, or made it locally. These small-time operators soon faced deadly competition from more organized and ruthless criminals. Chicago became a hotspot for such activities, largely because of Al Capone, who ruled the city streets and illegal alcohol trade with an unbreakable iron fist. His time as the boss from the mid-1920s was marked by extreme violence, making those years the bloodiest in Chicago's history up to that point. The city gained a notorious reputation worldwide. In 1926 alone, 75 gangsters were killed, and despite numerous witnesses to these crimes, there were no convictions. People often claim something called Chicago amnesia when they took the stand, conveniently forgetting what they had seen. Have you ever heard of the term Chicago amnesia before? Comment below. Anyway, Capone was a literal master of maintaining public favor. He was a media darling, known for his charitable works and flamboyant public appearances. He dressed as Santa Claus during Christmas to give gifts to children, and even ran a coffee and donut shop for the unemployed during the Great Depression. His lifestyle made him a celebrity, alongside figures like Babe Ruth and Charlie Chaplin. Kids adored him, chasing his armored car for a glimpse of the gangster, and he was always ready with an autograph. The rivalry between Capone's gang and Bugs Moran's North Side gang escalated to a breaking point on Valentine's Day in 1929. This conflict culminated in the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, where 7 of Moran's men were lined up and shot by 4 men dressed as police officers. Despite the massacre's brutality, the sole survivor refused to testify against Capone, standing true to the gangster code of silence until his last breath. No one was convicted for the massacre, making it one of the most famous unsolved crimes in American history. Didn't know that, did you? The public outrage over the massacre and the growing violence eventually turned the tide against Capone and other gangsters. Capone was dubbed public enemy number 1, and even the president demanded action. Ironically, despite numerous violations of the Volstead Act, Capone was ultimately imprisoned for tax evasion. His conviction marked a shift in how gang activities were handled, with future crimes being carried out more discreetly. The failure of the alcohol ban became increasingly clear during the Great Depression. The need to revive the economy and lift spirits led to the repeal of the 18th Amendment by the 21st Amendment in 1933, allowing Americans to legally drink again. The nation had learned a hard lesson from what was called the Noble Experiment, recognizing that banning alcohol only fueled more problems than it solved. What are some practical lessons that we can learn from this story? Number 1, think before you ban. When alcohol was banned, it was meant to reduce crime, but instead it gave rise to mobsters like Al Capone. This shows that sudden bans can sometimes backfire, leading to bigger problems than those they aimed to solve. Always consider the potential side effects of a new change you want to implement. Think before you ban. Number 2, know the field. Al Capone climbed to power by understanding and exploiting the weaknesses in his environment. Whether it's business or personal matters, always assess the landscape and the key players involved to navigate challenges effectively. Know your field. Number 3, strength in numbers. The collective outrage against the violence of the St. Valentine's Day massacre made a difference against Capone. When faced with injustice, coming together can amplify voices and lead to change. Strength in numbers. Got your heart racing, didn't we? Hit that subscribe button and join us on this thrilling journey. And hey, drop a comment below if there's a topic that's been keeping you up at night. We might just turn the spotlight on it next.